Hello, I'm Pastor Hilly, and welcome to Adult Forum. We here at Faith Lutheran Church are located at 730 Collingwood Avenue, but right around the corner from us are our wonderful community partners right here in Whitehall, the Center of Hope, part of Victory Ministries, located at 3964 East Main Street. It is a joy and a privilege to have the Executive Director of Center of Hope and Victory Ministries, Mr. Lloyd Craycroft, on Adult Forum with us this week. Lloyd, thank you so much for your time, sir.
My pleasure. I am glad to be here.
Nice. So, and you and I talked about this on the phone yesterday. I found out about Center of Hope, A, just by driving down East Main Street, and B, one of your volunteers came by to drop off literature here at the church, and I took it and I looked at it and I saw the address and I go, that is a stone's throw from where we are.
Absolutely.
And so I jumped on your website, which we'll put in the description below for anybody to find out more information about what you're doing. And there's just a few things. So I have a lot of questions about you, about Victory Ministries. In your bio, it referred to you as a urban missionary for over 30 years. And I love that phrase. And if you want to take me back to way before Center of Hope, tell me a little bit about your story and what it means to be an urban missionary, especially like here in the Columbus area.
Well, I was a product of the counterculture of the late 60s and early 70s. In my personal case, my story is that I was part of the drug culture. And really, by the time I had become 19 years old, I was a bit of a mess. But I had been raised in a Christian family. My mother was a devout Baptist and had shown me the way I needed to live. I did come to Christ between my freshman and my sophomore year of college here at Ohio State. And then I just had gone from darkness to light. And from then forward, I just wanted to serve Jesus. Interestingly, I innately knew that part of my calling was to help other people. And I, in whatever way I could, I got involved with working with organizations that helped underprivileged children and handicapped children and nursing homes. And I was looking for anywhere to have an outlet. And I was surprised at how little activity I saw in the churches I was associated with, reaching out to people. So we just did it on our own. And that led me to my call to the ministry. The Lord called me into the ministry full time. And then, went to Bible school. And when I came out, I got immediately involved with urban type ministry work, feeding and clothing and material needs assistance, and just sharing. It was kind of a twofold philosophy. It was, and still obviously is today, sharing Christ and showing Christ. Yeah. So putting those two together for me was the path that made the most sense. I was able to minister to people and give people food that needed food. And then as the opportunity arose, we were able to also share Christ with them. But we always showed Christ first. And, somebody needs what we have, they can come and receive what we have. And if they're kind of like, hey, I don't want the Jesus part, then we just say, that's your call. We love you, and come back. So my work this goes back to we began in 1983. So from 1983 and even before, my work was always urban. And so I began to realize I've also done overseas mission work, mission trips. I had a series of 6 trips to Peru in 2006 through 2008, and to Guatemala. And I got a perspective of world missions, which is so important and healthy. I would recommend any believer find a mission trip to go on.
Absolutely.
and just see what the rest of the world looks like. And you're only going to see a piece of it. But when I saw the garbage dumps in Guatemala, and when I saw this stark poverty in Lima, Peru, and mud huts, and my eyes were open. Like the world needs so much that the body of Christ can offer. But it wasn't my calling. My main calling was not that global mission. My main calling was here, and I began to really identify with being an urban missionary. I am a missionary. I'm bringing that message, and I'm bringing the proof of the message, which is, James says to, the royal law of the scriptures, to love your neighbor as yourself.
Yep.
So that became kind of my handle as far as, this is my identity. I'm an urban missionary. So we still do it today. And, the methods may change. The message is sacred, but the methods always change.
Well,
and so we try to adapt. And that's what we've been doing.
You just drew a really good connection that sometimes people get confused by. So myself, I'm here in the parish at Faith Lutheran, and I've had the opportunity to serve a number of parishes, both in Ohio and in Connecticut. And like yourself, I've also been privileged by serving in ministry on international trips. I've spent a lot of time in Romania, in central Romania, in that area with the Roma population. And I remember I took a group of high school kids, 14 high school kids from the suburbs of Connecticut to Romania, which the kids were really excited about. The harder pitch was the parents, as you can imagine,
Yes.
And
yes.
The question that I always got on mission trips, whether it was international or even stateside, taking kids from Connecticut to Chicago or wherever the case was, well, why do you have to go all the way over there? Because there's so much need here as well. And there's a lot of truth in that statement, but I feel like you really hit the nail on the head when your eyes get open to A, how big the world is, and B, how big the need is. And then you bring that back. Like, that's a very powerful witness and a very powerful inspiration. And I found with my kids, when I took them abroad, they came back so much more invigorated to do ministry on the home front, so to speak, because they had seen like the vastness of need in the world. And I think that those two things are intrinsically linked when we think about ministry. And sometimes people put them as diametric oppositions. Like, oh, well, you either are, on the home front or you're abroad. And you're like, no, it's, I don't know, I like milkshakes. I want peanut butter and chocolate in mine. You know what I mean? Like, they're both really important.
Well put, yeah. I probably going to have to run out of here at lunchtime and get a shake now, since you planted that seed.
Well, talking about where we are here on the east side, Johnson's Ice Cream, like, best milkshakes in Columbus, I'll say.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. So,
all right. So it's 83. Is that the genesis then of Victory Ministries? Because when we get to Center of Hope founded 2016. So there's a few years there.
Yeah.
And with as much detail as you'd like to provide, like, you start Victory Ministries, you're reaching out to urban areas across Columbus, because Columbus is a huge city, and and there's a lot of different neighborhoods. Were you focusing on different neighborhoods? Was it kind of like where the Spirit blew you?
Well, I think it might be a mixture. April 1st, 1983, we opened our doors, but before that, we were actually delivering groceries out of the trunk of a car. It was called Victory Mission in those early days, all those years ago. I mean, we're approaching 40 years of ministry. It's all I've done my adult life. And I say that feeling with a lot of gratitude to God. I feel that although I didn't choose this for myself, I didn't go out looking for this, but when it became my life, I loved it, and I loved what God did with it. But started in the trunk of a car, and then in April 1st, 1983, we opened a storefront on North 4th Street. We were right there north of campus.
Yeah.
And, yeah. In fact, our old building we have all the pictures that we had in that time, has been absorbed by the new Xenos facility there. And the storefront we have no longer exists. And then we moved from there over to 2nd Avenue. And we had a warehouse on 2nd Avenue until 1991. We moved to Switzer Avenue. And then ultimately we came here. Now, along the way, we grew, though. We always have done food and clothing and chapel ministry. So you could always get physical food and spiritual food. You could have that opportunity, and we've just seen so many people who just really they need someone to care, and they need someone to pray, and that part has never changed. Right. But then as we began to grow a little bit over on Switzer Avenue, we added, we actually now have Hope Counseling Center. We have a fully accredited counseling center. And then we added our Reading Buddies tutoring in Cassidy Elementary, where we were for 10 years. And now it's switched over to K Elementary here in Whitehall. We opened up a free medical clinic. And so by the time we got here, we were able to open our vision clinic, because we have a fully equipped vision clinic, the women's preventative health care, which that screens for breast and cervical cancer, which anyone watching this podcast can inquire about all of these services. We are helping, particularly in these clinics, we're helping women get their proper screenings. And it's free. That is free of charge.
Oh, wow.
And the eye clinic is free of charge. So we started back in 1983. We continued to serve and grow. When I started, my youngest child was my son, my only son. I have 3 daughters and a son. He was 4. And now I have, all these years later, I have a 15-year-old grandson, and we're still, he volunteers here at Victory Ministries. We are still doing the work, and our family's grown up around this. And we really knew the Lord was prodding us for this vision, this center of hope. And instead of just a few things, more things, and instead of a small space, a bigger space. And locally here, the local government in Whitehall, I cannot sing their praises enough. They have been so helpful, so welcoming, and such a blessing to work with that it would have been hard for us not to come here. The facility we have here, this totally renovated, we gutted and renovated 15,000 square feet. This building was shown to us by Zach Woodruff, the Director of Development from Whitehall. Oh, wow. And before we signed the contract on this property, we met, the mayor wanted to meet with us, wanted to make sure there were no obstacles. It was her idea. So she got the zoning people involved, and she got the building inspectors involved. We all had a meeting. Everybody felt like, hey, this is going to work. We don't see any problems. And Mayor Maggart really opened the door for the Center of Hope to be here. Well, ever since we've just been partners, and they are a great community partner. And so here we are now, 5 years here. A minor interruption of COVID, although we never closed our doors. When the mandates hit for COVID, we were considered essential services. The city gave us letters. If you remember back then a year ago, you just couldn't freely travel. You could actually be stopped, like, why are you out?
Yep.
We never were stopped, but we had letters saying we were essential service. And we were like the corner grocery store. We could not close, for which I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. And so we moved everything outside like everybody else. You signed up for your food outside. You got your food outside. Then we moved the clothing out. Then after about a month and a half, we had our chaplain sitting out there with a table in the parking lot. We had everything outside. Yeah. Then when it started getting blistering hot, we started moving back inside. And now all of our services are inside. still with some restrictions. Our choice pantry is not open yet, but we can feel it coming. As the restrictions get lowered. I understand Governor DeWine just made an announcement that many of the major restrictions are going to expire on like June the 2nd or something, June the 2nd. So we see our full repertoire returning, but you still come here for food. You can still come here and see a chaplain. You can still come here for counseling. We have a women's Bible study on Thursday afternoons. We're working with Etna School and K to get everything moving again in the fall, because we want to get all of our tutors back. But it's going to depend on where we are then. Can they, for instance, can they let volunteers in the building? Right. But having said that, we're excited about being able to soon safely be able to not have our mask and to be able to see everyone, and they can see our smile and we can see theirs, and we can have a hug or two and just start to have that contact again. And so we're just looking forward to that time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So let me ask you this, and as you identified last night, as we record this on May 13th, last night, Governor DeWine, the two big announcements that everybody's talking about is as of June 2nd, health mandates are being lifted. The other one, which is more of a Willy Wonka kind of announcement, is that for 5 weeks, every Wednesday, there's going to be a raffle of people who are vaccinated, and one person every Wednesday will get $1 million. Which, I love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, so I'm ready. I would like $1 million, right?
Oh my
so
goodness.
Here's my question to you, Lloyd. Hypothetically, if you would get $1 million, what would you use that money for in terms of the Center of Hope?
Well, $1 million would position us to do quite a few things. We could take a large piece of that and reduce our mortgage, which, when the mortgage reduces, money's freed up for operations. We could also plan more deliberately. One part of our vision, Pastor Hilly, is that we want to replicate the Center of Hope in other areas. There is a second Center of Hope in Knox County. It's called COH Knox County. We have a rural presence up there. They're under our umbrella, and one of our board members has to sit on their board, and we offer support and guidance, but they're autonomous, but they are part of us. And our vision from the beginning was that this model that we have here would be replicated, and people that were excited about bringing this to their community, we would help them do it. Well, we would be able, with that kind of money, to engage an individual to just handle that piece. Somebody who had those kinds of skills, who could travel and had kind of big picture skills and knew how to draw people together and create the infrastructure that we have. Because we have all the systems. Like we gave them all of our systems, and we're supporting them with as much of the day-to-day infrastructure they might need, both with finance and with marketing and planning and so forth. So that would be another place. And I think we would probably, if I had $1 million today that I didn't know I was going to have, I would probably create an entire social worker department. And because we would like to hire a social worker by the end of the year. And what we have now, we have the ability and do meet with people and let them know the resources that are available, try to connect them, kind of like a benefit bank idea, but we need more than that here. We really need that personal touch and that more of the face-to-face, and then the ability to return and for us to help them over the tough spots. So I think we would probably look more for client, or we call them neighbor, more for neighbor services, to add some staff to enhance neighbor services. So I hope that was prophetic. That would be fantastic.
As you were talking, in the back of my mind, I was like, I really hope he doesn't ask me the same question, because I don't think I can give as good of an answer. Because I was like, what would I do with $1 million? And as somebody who owns 2 facilities, one here and one in Knox County, you could have said, well, we got to get the roof done. But I really appreciated that the very first thing you said was like, how do we put into the community? How do we like lower the mortgage so we can reach out more? And
Yeah.
like that's, when we talk about the fruit of the vine, that's showing that the vine is connected to the source of life, not connected to itself. You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's a very powerful image.
Yeah. And God's really blessed us. We are able to take extra resources and reinvest. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that's a great way to dream. That's a great way to dream.
So, with you guys' presence here in Whitehall, here on the east side, and we've already talked about this a little bit. Whitehall is such a great community. Mayor Maggart is a wonderful human being and a great leader. Megan Meyer, the Deputy Director of Community Services, actually, she was on the podcast last week, and we were talking about all the things that are happening in Whitehall in the summer with the Market on the Green and all that sort of thing. And we have so many great community partners here. So let's just kind of brag on our friends for a second. Who are some of your favorite community partners when we're talking about the east side and over here in the Whitehall area?
Well, I've already mentioned the city. The city is an amazing community partner. Businesses like Heartland Bank, Alliance Data, right over here, Ernie's Auto, the Whitehall Rotary Club, that's actually a dual club with the Bexley Rotary. They kind of operate together. Bob Masheter. These are all great community partners, businesses, and municipal, a lot. And then there's a lot of the individuals. There are local, there's the local churches that we're connected with, like you, Faith Lutheran. There's New Life Whitehall, Pastor Claude Davis. There's Westfall Baptist, City of Refuge, and a handful of others that we've been privileged to partner with. I'm just picking Whitehall churches. Right. And I'll tell you, Pastor, without the churches, it would be, it may just be impossible for us to do the job. But we have a solid, active 50 to 60 church number that citywide, inside the outer belt and outside the outer belt. We even have some churches in other cities that are former relationships who continue to want to sow into the work here. But without the church, we would probably just be limping along at best. And then the church creates an environment for volunteers. Without the volunteers, I can clearly say we do not exist.
Right.
Volunteers are the backbone of what we do. And one of the things, we have a lot of retirees that are our volunteers, because we kind of have banker hours. Our office is open over here. Staff start arriving at 9 and 9:30, and then on most days we close up around 5. Mm-hmm. So it's bankers hours Monday through Friday. Then some Thursday evenings we're here, some Saturday mornings we're here. But for the most part, people that would be younger than retirement age, they're working, they're doing their jobs. And so the retirees are amazing. And we have them from many even other churches that are represented local. Holy Spirit Catholic Church, we have volunteers out of Holy Spirit, and multiple other churches from the area. So the community here has just been a key, really, and supportive, just in thinking, we also have a relationship with the Lions Club. And I'm just trying to run through my repertoire of friends, but yeah, it's wonderful, actually.
When you were talking about the Vision Center, the Lions Club were the first. My mom is totally blind, and I grew up really entrenched in the Lions Foundation of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so whenever anybody talks about, especially doing outreach and ministry that involves vision of any kind, yeah, the Lions Club are the first place. So it's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, to piggyback on that, because I think maybe our viewers may want to know this, anybody that comes for an eye exam, and right now we are seeking a new optometrist. Our former optometrist acquired another business, and he had to invest in that. So we're looking for a new optometrist. Any optometrist watching, and you have an evening a month, we'd like to talk to you, or it could even be in the day. We'd like to talk to you. But we partner with the Prevent Blindness Foundation.
Oh.
And the Prevent Blindness Foundation will give a pair of glasses to anyone that is at that 200%, below the 200% above the poverty level. Anyone under that can get a free pair of glasses after their exam, even if they're progressives. And there's only about 6 frames to choose from, but I wear contacts and glasses. And without them, my vision is greatly impaired.
Right.
I don't want to try to live my life without either.
Right.
And I know I just had to buy a pair of glasses. I know how expensive glasses are. And our neighbors, most of them, they can't even begin to afford that. To give someone a pair of glasses who can't see, it's like giving them their sight. And in a way, here you are. It's like a modern day little bit of a version of Jesus and the miracle. Here, receive your sight.
Absolutely.
And I saw kind of like the only way I know to describe him, he was just a large, very manly man.
Mm-hmm.
And I handed him his glasses, and tears started to run down his face.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't been able to see.
Yeah.
He's probably driving, and he's at risk, and others are at risk. Probably doesn't really know what his grandchildren look like, because when it's blurred enough, you're not exactly sure. You get an idea. And so to see that just melts your heart, right, to be able to be that conduit of love. And the love wasn't, words, although words are powerful tools of love. Yeah. The love was hope. Here, have some hope. Exactly. Well, we call it the center of hope. Have some hope. Have a pair of glasses. Now you can see. So everything we do, we really try to impact the soul. Some people go, well, what do you do over there? And I can tell you many things, but I always say we do hope. Yeah. That's our business. Hope is our business. And if it can bring hope, we try to do it. And if it can have an impact, we try to do it. If it doesn't, we let that go and we go on to something else.
Yeah. When I was on the website last night, just kind of reading over it, the name of it, Center of Hope, really stood out to me. And just as a personal story, the organization I work with in Romania, they have a day school set up next to a Roma community, and that school is called Point of Hope. And excellent. Olafson, and you're like, why did you call it Point of Hope? I feel like you and him grew up in the same household, so to speak.
That's great.
He's like, hope is our business. Like, we are providing opportunities. And I was like, yeah, like, we as the Church Universal, we are hope traders. Like, that is what we are investing.
Yes, we are.
We want that return on investment of hope and what that does. Because, and I also, and I've said this for years, I believe it to be true, that inspired people inspire other people.
Yes, they do.
So when we engage in a community and we're bringing this hope, our goal is to turn that around and bring that source of life and spirit and that kind of breath of God to it's kind of like the Ezekiel, the dry bones, right?
Yes.
Ezekiel's not doing it. He's watching what God is doing, but telling us what he's seen. Like, what we are doing is we are trying to identify what God is doing in these communities.
Yeah, well put.
Yeah.
Well put.
So if somebody's listening to this and they go, all right, I really want to find out more about what Center of Hope is doing. I want to figure out what I can do to become engaged with that. We'll put the website in the description below. But
Okay.
If somebody wants to say, hey, Lloyd, what can I do to be active today or tomorrow? Is that the best way? Should they give you a call? Like, what's the best way to get in contact? And then what can they expect?
Well, if someone, they can actually do all the above, but on the website, when they get to the volunteer link, there's like a, you can fill out an information card and someone will contact you. Or I believe you can get the volunteer application and just fill it out right online and send it in, and then someone will contact you.
Nice.
If you want to talk to somebody and you call in, we have a very, our phone number is on the website, but it's 614, but it's 252-2500. Very easy to remember, 252-2500. Call in, and just if you don't get through, we have one of those automated answering assistants, which I know everybody is weary of those, but leave a message and someone will return that call. And we would love to, if you want to be involved with a group of people that want to bring the love of Christ and show the love of Christ to the community, this might be a good place to have an outlet for that. And then if you're watching this and maybe you have a need, then we also want to talk to you. Now, our food pantry, you need an appointment, but I probably shouldn't say this. And if any of my staff hear me say this on some kind of media, they're going to shout me down. But if you do come and don't have an appointment, most of the time they can get you in. So you didn't hear that from me.
Right.
And but we just want to help. We want to help, and we have food, we have clothes, we have counselors, we have chaplains. These are all things that you can access when you come here. And someone has a need to see a counselor. Our counseling department is on a sliding scale, and we bill most insurances as well. But if you need to see a counselor, the initial visit it's like a consultation, no charge. See if you're comfortable, see if we're the right organization for you, or we can refer if there needs to be a referral. But that counseling department right now, mental health needs are at such a high. There's been such an increase, and it's only gone up since COVID.
Yeah.
And ironically, when the mental health needs have skyrocketed, the mental health funding has been decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's created a bigger problem. I mean, when you have a mental health need, you need to see someone now, not in August. And some of the waiting lists are so long. So maybe we can help there as well. I can't speak for your specific situation, but maybe we could offer some assistance or some direction or some comfort. And anyone can make an appointment to see our chaplain and just come in, and she'll spend 30 minutes with you initially to see how we may be able to help, pray with you, offer you some biblical directives, some tools, some things to help you deal with grief, anger, whatever you may be dealing with. And then, of course, if you're suffering from something, if you're battling addiction, we can get that ball rolling for you, and we are connected to the local organizations as well as some of the ones that are in the county. Right. Though addictions, the opioid crisis is all very, very real. We realize that. We want to help.
Yeah. Lord, I want to thank you just so much for your time and the ministry and the work that you're doing here in Whitehall and on the east side at large, plus across our city, because there are so many tentacles, if you will, that are coming out of Center of Hope right there on East Main Street. If you don't mind, as we end, would you be up for 5 random questions?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Favorite restaurant on the east side?
On the east side, it's a burger joint down on Main called Flavors 97, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite here.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, the flavor guys are great. Are great.
Yeah.
Last book you read?
I read, actually, I read a book by an Australian called "Are You Getting This?" And it's how to tell your story. He's a storyteller, and he talks about how Jesus basically communicated with stories and parables, and it was a book about how to tell your story.
Nice. Favorite story in the Old Testament?
Probably more of an illuminated David and Goliath. And what I mean by illuminated, I mean when I study that, the size of Goliath, how many shekels his shield weighed, and the size and the bravery of David, who ran towards that giant, and all David saw was that he didn't have a covenant with God, and he slew him. So I think not the children's version, but the adult version.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. I heard the story on NPR. They were interviewing this guy, and he wrote a book, and it's titled "Ladies and Gentlemen, the Bible." And it's all of those Old Testament stories that we know so well, rewritten in this kind of like Garrison Keillor-esque style. So talking about like how we understand stories and how we hear stories, it is being shipped to me as we speak, and I can't wait to hear it. But that
sounds great. That sounds great.
Number 4, what is your favorite mythological creature?
Well, let's see here. Probably is Aslan a mythological creature?
Absolutely.
It would be either Aslan or something out of the Chronicles of Narnia.
Nice. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm never going to argue Tolkien with anybody. I'm not. Yeah. And number 5, as we sit here on May 13th and we're looking to the second half of the year 2021, what are you most excited about in the months ahead?
I think one of our biggest pieces is I want to see and point towards a post-COVID experience. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to see our ministry touching the way we were touching and reaching out the way we were reaching out, supporting others who need to be supported. And then we have a few goals that we would like to accomplish by the end of the year, things we want to do and accomplish. But I think reconnecting with our neighbors fully is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Nice. Lloyd Craycroft, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything that you're doing. It's a pleasure. And I look forward, as the weeks move ahead, to connect more with Center of Hope and Faith Lutheran Church. And I'm excited to see what we can do together in the future.
Absolutely awesome. God bless you, brother.
And also with you, sir.